Hi everybody. In this video we're going to be talking about the miscellaneous section. So let's get started. So we'll go to the cube, or actually we'll go to our camera. We'll go to add component, miscellaneous, click miscellaneous, aim constraint. Now this button activate is just going to trigger this is active. So it's going to set this to be true. So if I click it, as you can see, 0 will zero out the offsets of this aim constraint, and I'll show you the offsets. Well, you can see right here there's the offsets. Weight will if you have this at 1, it will how can I explain it? It will have the full effect. If you have it at 0, it won't have any effect. So we'll keep this at 1 just so you guys can see the full effect. There's aim vector. So where the vector will aim at, vector up, where the vector up will be at, world up type. So world up type, if we go over here to the documentation, we can see world up type specifies the axis for upward direction. So scene up is for the y-axis of the scene. Object up is for the object that you refer to, which is right here, world up object. So if we go up here, object up, world up object. So if I set up my cube, that will be what we're referring to. And then there's the axis specified by world up vector of the game object. That's object up rotation. Instead of the y-axis, it's all of that axis. And then vector is the world up vector. And then none if you don't want to use any of the vectors. So if we go back, we could see that we have all these right here. So we could use none. And then we could have our settings locked, or we could unlock them. And then as you can see, we could adjust our settings just as we would be able to up here, you can see. And then we could also have a source. So if we add it, for example, let's take this off and we kind of adjust it over there, and we add a source. We could have this, let's say our cube, be the source of our rotation offset. As you can see, I don't know if you guys were able to see it, but the rotation offset was changed. So if you look at the rotation offset, when I add this source, you can see all these values change because it's using the cube's rotation at rest and offset to find these values. And then if we go to the documentation, it just says that the aim constraint rotates a game object to face the game object's source. It can also maintain a consistent orientation for another axis. For example, you can add an aim constraint to a camera, keep the camera upright while the constraint aims it, specifically the up axis of the camera and up direction, and aligns it to it. So as you can see, that's what it does. Personally, I don't really use it, but you could find some use for it. There you go. I'm gonna remove that, and then I think we go back to our cube, miscellaneous, and we could go to animation. So when we go to animation, there's animation clip. Now animation clip, I'll show you how to make one right now in a minute after I explain the animator, but we're gonna explain these variables real quick. So animation, as you can see, you could add an animation clip, and this is an array. So this is like a list of animations. So you could add a bunch of animation clips. So you could the first one is the one that gets played automatically. So in the first one you could have an idle, and then these right here you could call via script. So you could have the first one be idle, walk, run, jump, swim, crouch, and you could also change them up here too as well. So you could add as much as you want. You could click either one, you can move them around, and as you can see the numbers change, and you could also subtract them. Now you could also play automatically, or you could animate physics. So if your animations will have physics if applied, and there's also play automatically, and there's calling type. You could always animate, or you could do it based on the renderers. Now before I show you the animation clip, I'm going to show you this animator. Now the animator has the animator controller and an avatar. An avatar would be a character, whether it be a person, a animal, or anything with bones. And later on I'll explain what the bones are. It's pretty much just like our bones or a human or animal's bones. You add it to your mesh, and that's how you're able to animate them more easily. And then you could also let me show you how to make this Animator controller real quick before we skip it, or before I skip it. So you could right click on the project panel, go to create, and then go to Animator controller. You could also create the animation right here, but we're gonna do Animator controller. You can name this anything you want, and then we'll go back to our cube and we'll drag this anything you want to it, and as you can see, that's what it's called. Now I have this animation in Animator, but I'm gonna remove these real quick to show you, just in case you don't have it. You go to Window, Animation, and there's the animation and Animator. The hotkey for animation is Control 6, so I'll put Animator, and you could put this anywhere you want, but I'm gonna put it down here, and then I'm gonna hit Control 6 for the animation. As you can see, it came out, and I'm gonna bring it down here as well. Now in the Animator panel, you can see we have this any state entry, we have exit, we have auto link or auto live link, we have base layer, we have some settings right here where we could override. We can have a mask, IK pass, we could have multiple layers, we could delete layers, we can have parameters, so we could click a parameter, we can have a float parameter, an integer, a bool, which is true or false. We could have a trigger, which triggers something, a float, which would be a decimal, an integer would be a whole number. And then you could look for our parameters. We could also hide that. Here is where we will connect all our animation clips. So I'm going to show you that real quick by making an animation. So what you could do is click animation, you would have to go on your hierarchy and click on whatever you want to animate. So we're going to animate our cube. So we'll click on the cube, or I'm going to click on the cube, and I'm going to hit create, and that will begin to animate the cube. So create. Now it's a good idea to keep things organized. So if you don't have an animation folder already, I would suggest you hit new folder, new folder, name it animations. Of course, I'm not going to do that because I already have one. I'm going to name this one animations with 2 S's, and hopefully it doesn't lag too much. My computer's been acting up recently, just this past hour. I think it's because I kind of been working it too much. Just got a simple laptop. I'm thinking of getting a desktop. That way it would be a little quicker to do this. So once that's done, I'm not going to go to this one. I'm going to go to the regular animations one, and then I'm just going to name my animation. So I'm going to name it rotate cube, and I'm going to save it. And when I save it, let Unity do its thing, and then it's going to create this timeline. Now with this timeline, this is where you could animate your objects. So I'm going to hit record, and that will record everything I do now. So anything I do in the scene, it will get recorded. So now what I'm going to do is, after a minute, I want this animation to finish. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to rotate this cube. Just going to rotate this cube like this. So now when I hit play, you can see my cube rotating. Now if you see that it's acting kind of funny, that's because usually the first frame has to match the last frame. So we hit play and it rotates. Now that's our animation clip. Now let's say we want to make this shorter. We could drag it, we can make it shorter. As you can see, it looks glitchy, of course, because it's rotating super quick. We could actually make this longer like this. Could scroll and just make it longer, as you can see. But what I usually do is I'll keep it around a minute or so. Sometimes I'll have it longer, sometimes I'll have it up to 2-3 minutes. And now let's say, well, for this example, I'm going to keep it at a minute. Now let's say I want it to be slower, I want the animation to be slower. What I do is I'll go to samples, and I'll put the samples to be at a lower rate. So let's say 50. And as you can see, well, you might not be able to see, so let's drop it to 2. Now as you can see, it's rotating very slowly. And as you can see, the timeline kind of changed. So now it's at 30 seconds instead of, what's this? I don't know, well, it looks like 30 minutes instead of 1. So this is a second. So it was at it was at 30 seconds instead of 1 second. So, you know, if I would have dropped this to 1 and played it, it would have been real slow. And what else? There's also, you could filter by selection. You could actually, you could add keyframes by clicking right here. So you could like rotate it without recording. Then you could just add a keyframe. So add a keyframe, and now as you can see, you change the animation. You could also add animation events. Now animation events, I'll talk about this later on, but through script you can make an animation event, and then when you have this animation event, you could fire a trigger. So you can make, let's say, we have this animation event right here. Once it gets to at this point, we could have like an explosion go off or something like that. So that's what an animation event would be. Or we could have, let's say we win 10 points every time, or some text says that we won 10 points every time when it gets to a certain point. That's what an animation event would be. So let me just delete that. And then after that, you could also add properties. When you add a property, you're pretty much just choosing from one of these. So I could actually, instead of, you know, recording through here, I could add a property, and I could record through here as well. So I could add, let's say, a color reference, and now we have this color reference, and now I could actually change the color from here, and as you can see, the color changed, as you can see. So now when we get there, you can see the color changing, and you could do that as well. But you could also, of course, do it here. You know, there's some stuff that you might not be able to get here. For example, that color, you wouldn't be able to get to it from here because there's no color section. But there's a lot of stuff you could just record, click, and it's recorded. Click it again, it's recorded again. As you can see, you could, you know, check this off completely, except for the animator. You could turn the mesh off if it works. Pretty much all these little components that we have on our game object that we're animating, we could actually, you know, animate. So now, as you can see, we have it like that. But that's pretty much that for the animations, or the animator. Or actually the animator, there's one more thing I gotta show you. We go to this animator, and now we see that we have this rotate clip, or rotate cube clip. Now this rotate cube is the clip that we made. So as you can see, now we could click and we'll get another set of properties if it works. You can see we could have it loop or not loop. We could loop pose. We could cycle offset, so we could change the offset of the cycles, and then we also could change the speed right here. We could change the motion time. We could add parameter, or we could, you know, have the parameter selected, but we would have to, you know, add a parameter right here. It says right here we have to have one of float, so we would have to have a float one, as you can see, and then you could just name the float the same as here, and that's how you would add your parameters. You can have mirror, you can have cycle, all that. And then there's also transitions. So since this is the entrance state, you really wouldn't have it, but let's say, let me make a transition through here. If it hurries up. So you can see we get this window down here. Let me turn this down. We get this window. It has these settings, has exit time. And just, if you want it to have an exit time between clips, or if you don't. So let's say when you're jumping, you don't want it to have an exit time because you want it to be quick. But let's say when you're shooting, you might want it to have an exit time. You might want it to play the full clip before it stops, or before it jumps to the next clip. So there's also fixed duration. You could set the duration if you want it to have exit time or not. You could have the exit time variable. You could also have interruption source. So if you want to have a different interruptions. Let me try that again. Interruption source. You can have that. You can have current setting, next state. Current state, next state, current state, then next state, and then next state, then current state. Those are just animation states. You could also transition. It could transition to self or not. So if you have this unchecked or not. You could also preview the source. So down here, you could have the preview source down here. Then you can have these conditions. So we have a condition which is the new float, which is, let me bring this up again now. So you can see this new float condition. So that's what this condition is. Now we could have it greater or less than, let's say 2. So let's say this was walking speed. Walking speed. If walking speed's greater than, let's say 0.1 of a mile, then we'll walk. If not, then we'll just idle. And then yeah, that's pretty much it for this animations or animator that I can think of. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I always forget something. I always remember at the end of these videos. But anyways, there's also update mode if you want it normal, if you want it to animate physics and scale time. There's culling mode if you want it to always animate, cull update transforms by the transforms, or just cull completely. And that's it for the animator. Now I was going to show you the animation again real quick, just to show you the clips. Now I could actually, with my clip, where is my clip? Oh, I have a folder. So like I said, it's always good to have a folder. Now we could have this rotate cube right here, play automatically, and we could hit play. And even though we don't have an animator, once it plays, it should play the animation because we have it on play automatic. I might have to have it on this array, but let me check real quick. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know why this computer's acting up on me. So now if it plays, so it doesn't work like that. You would have to actually put it in element 0 as well. That's what I was thinking. Like I said, this would be run via script when you have multiple elements. So while we wait for this to load again, it's not working. So yeah, we're gonna try that. If that works, I'll kind of explain what I just did. So yeah, that's working now. But as you can see, it just plays once. So let me go to the cube. Let me drop it to 20. And let's play it again. That way we could kind of see it a little better. And then it's working. And then like I said, I'll explain what I just did. So as you can see, it works. So what I did is when they upgraded, I think it was from Unity 4 to Unity 5, they took this away for some reason. And the only way to be able to access this is you would click right here when you have this rotate cube selected, go to debug, and then you just click this legacy. So just click this and that will work. So if I unclick it and I go back, you will see it's just not gonna work like earlier. So you can see it's just not working. So yeah, if you guys prefer, let me just make sure you guys go back to normal. If not, you guys are gonna see these weird variables everywhere that usually do not appear. So as you can see, this debug mode shows all the private variables. So if you guys are familiar with scripting and coding, when you set a private variable, these are it. So let me go to normal. As you can see, you can't see the instance ID or anything like that. It's because of that. So now that's pretty much it for that. I was gonna explain more of the miscellaneous section over here. I was gonna explain of course articulation, body, all this, but I think we ran out of time. Let me check. Oh yeah, we're way over time. So that's it. Stay tuned for the next videos so you could see this miscellaneous. Like I said, I'm gonna cover the rest of these. Articulation body, the renderer, the billboard renderer, look at constraint, parent constraint, all of these. So stay tuned. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. If you have any questions, hit that comment button. If you want to know, or comment button, actually write a comment. If you guys want to know more of these animations or animators, just let me know. But later on in future videos, I will be making tutorials of games, and we will be using these animators and animations a lot. So just stick around for that. Like I said, hit that subscribe button. Thank you once again.